5 years ago, Flynn was on this podcast as a teenager living with cystic fibrosis. CF is a genetic condition that affects 1 in 2,500 Australians that causes mucus to clog the lungs and digestive system, requiring constant physio, medication and hospital check-ins to stay well. Thanks to modern medicine, many people with CF now live into their 40s and beyond, but it means staying ever vigilant and factoring the disease into their future. Now in his early 20s, Flynn's back to share the journey he's been on since we first met. He's had setbacks, success, and the pressure of managing a condition that never quits, all while trying to mature into the man he wants to be. This is Flynn Gill. Welcome to Young Blood, the volunteer video podcast dedicated to young men's mental health. I'm your host, Cal McPherson, and this is a platform for young men and their loved ones to share lived experience stories and show that no matter what you're going through, you're not alone. Suicide is the #1 killer of young people, and changing that starts with speaking up. So let's do it. This episode is proudly brought to you by Credit Union SA, a South Australian business that believes in the value of promoting mental health, working together with us to help save lives. Sharing lived experience stories is a major part of making a positive change, and we couldn't bring you these podcasts without their support. Flynn, I reckon let's just do a bit of a recap from the last time we spoke 5 years ago.
Yep.
So just talk about those late teenage years and where you were at with everything with CF.
Yeah, I was in high school. High school was a bit difficult. I was doing maybe two days a week of school just because it was just too difficult to stay out of hospital. I was in maybe once every couple of months, and yeah, I found the social life was a bit tricky. It was very, very, very lonely. I had my family always beside me and my friends as well, of course, but felt a bit isolated, being a bit different from everyone. Very secluded, I felt, to myself, and felt comfortable being by myself a lot, which has changed a fair bit since then, but yeah.
Do you feel like you're introverted now?
Sometimes. I've definitely broken out of my bubble. I've definitely put myself out there a lot more comfortable. I feel like I've found myself since getting better, since getting that miracle medication. Yeah, I like to introduce myself to people and be more of a presence in other people's lives. But I definitely also do like my alone time still. I think that's just how I grew up as well, so it will always be with me.
Yeah. Part of your nature. But
Yeah,
then also that isolation and feeling like you needed to seclude yourself, how did that relate to your disease?
being in hospital, you either see the nurses or you see like your mum or your dad or your brother. And yeah, you're very, I guess you gotta just adapt to know to be by yourself during the nights and stuff. Especially when you get a little bit older and everyone's got everything going on, you're kind of like, all right, I'm happy to just chill here by myself. And
How long would you spend in hospital?
usually like 2 weeks at a time. That would be like the kind of course to get rid of whatever I had in my lungs. And sometimes if it just wasn't getting better, I could be in there for up to a month, but that wasn't too often. But yeah, that 2 weeks of being like, all right, when can I go home? You're there for like 3 days, and then you're like, okay, this is kind of nice, kind of get out of school for a little bit. And then you're like, all right, I'm ready ready to go home, ready to actually have social interaction a bit.
And what was happening over those weeks when you'd be in there?
A lot of treatment. So I had a lot of IV antibiotics pumping through me, probably for the whole 2 weeks. A lot of needles and physiotherapy. I often found the physios were the most relatable people. They would be my friends for the time. A lot of gaming. I would always bring in my Xbox and just chilling, playing games and stuff. But a lot of just recovering from the medications, because you get through the course of it and then you have to recover as well, which takes a little bit of time. And often I'd go to school after those 2 weeks, and then the teacher would be like, Flynn, you absolutely knackered. You can, I'd fall asleep on the desk sometimes. And yeah, I'd often have to get breaks from the
Because it was
teachers.
really hard on your body.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of recovering. Yeah.
So just for people who don't know much about CF, just explain like what was being treated.
You have too much salt, and so your organs tend to run a bit slower because the salt builds up like mucus and stuff in your lungs, especially. And that mucus is like a breeding ground for bacteria and bugs, as we call them. And that would just be sticky and hard to clear, and so it would continue to be growing in your lungs. And a lot of the treatment is with the physios is coughing up the phlegm and getting rid of all that gunk in there.
Would that always be there, or would you have periods where you cleared it and then you got some time where it wasn't there?
Yeah, sometimes I'd clear it and I'd be good for a month or two, but most of the time it's just in there. I got colonized with a bacteria called Pseudomonas, which is it's a CF kind of bug that a lot of us get, and it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, and you can taste it when you're coughing it up. But yeah, so that specific bug is very hard to get rid of, and eventually, most CFs get colonized with it, and then their lungs like scar because it's just so deadly to the lungs.
So that makes breathing an issue.
Yeah. I don't think I have lung scarring. I think I got this medication in time that I didn't get lung scarring. I think I'm still colonized with Pseudomonas, but it's just I don't have the phlegm there anymore to trap that bacteria and yeah, for it to grow in my lungs. So yeah.
And having all that phlegm, what are some of the other impacts on the body of having to constantly fight that?
A bit to do with the gut. So I remember last time we talked about my medications I was on, and I have to take something called Creon, which is like a pancreatic enzyme, which helps me absorb fats and stuff because I don't think the phlegm, but the high salt due to CF causes failure in the pancreas, so I can't absorb fat. Um, but yeah, that's just another thing that adds on to it, as well as diabetes. I mean, I got diabetes when I was 12, which is a common thing in CFs. It's CF related diabetes, and yeah, it's just a common thing for us to get. Just another thing to add to the list, but yeah.
And it's mostly kids that get it to begin with, right?
Yeah,
And then you have to go through those critical years battling this.
Yeah, for
this
sure.
thing.
Well, up until track after the miracle drug, the early years are the hardest to find. From people I've talked to as well, they said that the earlier years have been because, well, for me at least, the treatments weren't as good as they are now. But yeah, for me, the early years were the hardest because the treatments they were either very severe, like drugs that have long term effects, or very, I don't know, just not as advanced as they are now. So I think that with these new miracle drugs that are coming out, I think that treatments for CF and severity of it is going to be a lot better. Yeah.
How did it affect your development, given that you got it as a kid and you've lived with it for so long?
I think it in good and bad ways. It's made me. I've definitely gone through a bit of trauma dealing with the things that not normal people would deal with, but also it's made me who I am. It's made me pretty resilient. I often get asked if you had a chance to change, like if you could have CF or not, what would you do? And I always say I'd rather have it because I get to see, I guess, life on a different scale to people. I get to see a little bit of hardship, like yeah, it's just shaped me to who I am.
So where were you at 17, 18 when you were having to do those hospital stints and lie there at night, and you've been doing that for years, and you're still the kid who has to go to hospital
Yeah,
and do these stints, and other kids your age are growing up and having fun and doing what they want, and you're still
yeah,
stuck there. Just
yeah.
take us back to that and put us in your headset back then.
It felt unfair. Like, why was I the one to be put into this situation? I hate to say it, but I did want others to experience it. Like, I was like, what, like, you kind of got it easy sometimes. Like,
Because
obviously,
they felt like other people didn't get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I definitely lost a little bit of sympathy aspects with people. I've definitely worked on that to bring that back. I've got a lot more sympathy for people, but yeah, back then I was very like, if only you could go through what I've been through, what I'm going through.
And because it's CF and it's not cancer, and
Yeah,
people don't understand it as much, do you feel
yeah,
like there
exactly.
was an element of that as well, where
Yeah,
people sort of didn't really get it or didn't give it the credit that was due for how difficult it was?
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's an invisible disease. Like, you don't really see it. You might not even notice of going to hospital sometimes. Like, yeah, it's definitely, yeah, people just don't know. There's a lot more awareness though. I find nowadays, like my little brother, he's probably gonna have to do like courses on, not courses, but like they go through it in science class and everything. It's a lot of biology classes go through CF, and I find that's a good bit of awareness. Like, it's very, I find CF can be like, it's a good disease to learn about, or good condition to learn about, because it's kind of simple. Like, um, but yeah, I find a lot of, even my classes back then, we were talking about CF, and yeah, and my friends as well at uni, they talk about CF as well in their classes. So I find the awareness is definitely getting a bit better.
Mm.
Like, yeah.
So you went through the bulk of it at a bad time.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah,
Paved
yeah,
the way.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Also, yeah, yeah. Both lucky and unlucky with that, because we're at a time where I get to feel normal again. With these treatments that are out.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely went through a bit of hardship.
So were you depressed?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't believe. I was like, I'll never get depressed. Like, and it wasn't until I think I was about 12, and I remember it was the same. I was in for 2 weeks, and they were trying to figure out if I had diabetes or not. I remember my physio coming in and telling me about how depression will hits a lot of CF patients. It's very common because of the stuff they have to go through. But I didn't realize it then that I was depressed, but I was definitely crying a lot. Like, in bed, everyone would leave at night, and I'd just be watching TV, and I wouldn't be able to help it but to break down. And it wasn't until maybe I think I was 16 when I first went to the GP and got myself diagnosed with general anxiety and depression. Um, and got some meds for that, and they definitely helped. But there was also something missing with, like, I definitely needed some sort of therapy as well. But yeah,
Did you do that?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I've got a very good cystic fibrosis team at the RA, and it was the women's and children's. But yeah, we had a therapist there as well, and yeah, I always say to everyone, get a therapist, even if you don't need it. I find a therapist can help, like, just someone to talk to, an unbiased opinion. Like, it just, yeah, even on my good days, I would talk to them and feel a lot better, just to get all my thoughts out. And yeah, highly recommend therapists.
Tell me a bit more about that process and when you first started doing it and the sort of things that you talked about.
Yeah, it was a lot about the fairness of it, like why me? A lot of self-blame. I would often blame myself for CF, even though I know now, not my fault, just got given it.
What was the basis of blaming yourself?
I don't know. I was just very, I'm not sure. I just didn't like myself very much. I and I think that all just added up to be, this must be your fault for how I was, for how I was introverted as well. I would blame myself for that. I'm like, why don't you just go out and talk to people? It's not that easy. Yeah, it was a lot of getting help with figuring out why I would blame myself. And yeah, it came down to, I don't know, it came down to, you don't actually need to blame yourself. I never realized why I did really blame myself, but yeah, we kind of diverted from blaming myself to, you just don't need to. It's not like it's something you weren't in control of. And I think I had a bit of problem as well with things being out of my control, and that was another root cause, blaming myself for all that happened.
Yeah, well, of course, man. That must be so frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us control everything, but we like to think that if we do the right things, it leads to the result we want, and we have a degree of control over our life, and we can. Most of us are fortunate enough to at least believe we can plan for the future and go and do whatever we want, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you're in a position where you're not normal in that regard, and you've been told most of your life that you're going to be limited in those ways, and then you grow more into the approaching adult version of you.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
yeah, tell me about that part of it, and then the reality of, you being a little kid and told that you have to deal with this and going through that, and that sucks. But then as you're trying to grow up, having that loom over your future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was convinced I wouldn't be able to work. I think that had a bit of anxiety added into that with working, because I would always be like, what if I collapse, or what if I have a low blood sugar or something, like I needed, like I would always be like, I don't want to be a burden on anyone. And yeah, I remember my cousin, he went to Canada for the first time, and he did a summer camp over there, and he was telling me all these stories. And I remember I got out of school and I was just in bed all day every day playing video games and not interacting with people, just doing what I usually do. And he came back with all these stories of this magical summer camp, and I was like, I thought, what if this is like my chance? Oh, I got put on track after the miracle drug, and I hadn't been in hospital for. I'd gone from being in hospital every couple of months to not a whole year of not being in hospital. And that was kind of giving me the hope that I could maybe get a job one day. Maybe I could talk to people, I guess. I could go out and interact with people. And so I started going to my brother's surf lifesaving club and volunteering there at the bar, and that definitely helped with talking to people, with getting to know people, working on my social skills that were very not the best. I was very couldn't look people in the eye and that kind of thing. And
How did you find people treated you?
great. Yeah, that was another thing. Like, everyone was so kind and friendly. Like, the environment was great. I was just pouring drinks for these surf lifesavers. It was great. They all respected me and I respected them.
What did you learn about the basis of your anxiety versus like the reality?
Yeah, it gave me the confidence to kind of fight that anxiety and to get above it and actually talk to people, hold conversations with people. And yeah, the confidence kind of, it overshadowed the anxiety, and it kind of pushed it down. I definitely, when I went back home, I would definitely like, the anxiety was still there. I would definitely sit and be like, oh, I could have said this in that conversation, could have said that. But overall, I felt good. It felt good finally being able to talk to people, feeling more myself. I definitely hadn't found myself by then. That came into going to Canada with my cousin. We decided to go the next year, and I still hadn't had a job, still never been overseas.
How old were you then?
This was 2023 when we went over. So 2022, I was kind of weighing it up. And then I wanted to go 2022, but didn't have enough money. So I was like, all right, I'll push it a little bit further. And yeah, we decided to go together. And yeah, I got to the camp, and all these anxieties came back, and I was kind of sitting there, and we did a little face-to-face, like, get to know everyone. It was just a small group of us doing camp in springtime. So it was just, we did a face-to-face thing with people, and it was like, all right, in 30 seconds, explain a little bit about your past, explain who you are, what you like, and all that. And I remember doing it with this girl, and I could not look at her in the eyes. I was still very, like, still kind of cowering. All my anxieties would come back, like, oh God, I'm gonna mess up this conversation, that kind of thing. What's she gonna think of me, and all that. But she would just, like, kind of center me, and she would look into my eyes. She'd be like, "This is me. This is all my life. This is all that." And I kind of, like, I don't know. I felt a rush of, like, okay, I'm getting more comfortable, feeling more comfortable. And then yeah, as the weeks went on, I felt more myself. I felt more. Yeah, I felt like I was finding myself. I was working with kids. I was getting along with all these people. Everyone, like, I loved everyone. Everyone loved me. It felt great. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of found myself, and where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, and the confidence to be myself really in this place. I didn't think I'd be there for more than 2 weeks. That was another anxiety. I was like, I said to mum and dad, I said, be ready for me to come back in 2 weeks, because, like, this is my first job overseas. I'm still very, very anxious. I'm still this introverted guy, like, but yeah, ended up staying for 2 months, and then I was like, you know what, I'll stay for summer as well. Stayed for another 2.5 months, and then yeah, ended up being 8 months. Yeah, 7 or 8 months in total, and yeah, I came back because my visa ran out, and yeah, I was the confidence when I came back with all these stories, like I'd done something with my life, like I was so healthy. I don't think I've ever been more healthy than I was at camp, because I was outside the whole time. I was breathing fresh air the whole time.
And this drug had just stopped the mucus problem.
Yeah. So this drug, it regulates my salt levels in my body, so it no more sticky mucus. And we do a thing called a lung function test, which is like you blow into a tube, and it tells you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asthma size used to
Yeah.
do those. Yeah.
Oh yeah, good fun. And it really, like, my lung function, it used to go down to, like, it's been 30 at one point,
Wow.
but I haven't gone under 90 since starting taking this drug, which is just, you would, unless you found a cure, you wouldn't think that would have happened, I don't know, like
Yeah.
10 years ago. Yeah, it's huge.
So is it effectively a cure, or has been for you?
I like to say it is, because I feel normal. Like, I can run, I can do everything a normal person can. I can go to the gym. Yeah, I feel regular. Like, it's the only thing I worry about now is diabetes. And even the doctors have said that every time I go for a checkup, which is every 6 months, compared to every month, every time I go for a checkup, they're like, the CF part of it's 2 minutes, and then they're good, and then the next, I don't know, a couple of hours is talking about diabetes and food and stuff, which is such a crazy change to think of.
And was the diabetes related to CF?
Yeah. So it's called cystic fibrosis related diabetes. So it's not quite type 1 or type 2. It's a weird variant of it. I'm not very sensitive to insulin, but my blood sugars will rise and fall as they want, kinda. But yeah, that's just controlled like a normal, kind of like a normal diabetes management plan.
What was it like to go from looking down the barrel of you can't live the life that you want to live to just like flicking the switch and then all of a sudden, or within the space of...
So ask that again. I'd make a noise.
That's all right.
What was it like looking down the barrel of not being able to live the life you want to live, and then this drug comes out, and then within a year or two, suddenly you can be the you that you were never allowed to be? Like, incredible.
It is. Yeah, it is incredible. Yeah. Unreal. I was always, when I grew up, I was always ready to have a life expectancy of 50 or so, 60 maybe.
Yeah, and getting told that from your whole
Yeah,
life.
literally, just that's your expectation. So you gotta deal with that. And now I think the life expectancy is just a normal person now, apart from diabetes. But yeah, it's unreal. It I don't know. It's kind of freeing, kind of like it feels like a reward for all the troubles I had when I was younger. Yeah.
Must have felt good being able to use your body.
Yeah, to breathe is crazy.
Yeah, being able to run and work
Literally.
out and all that.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Very good for the mental health.
So how did the relationship with your inner self change as this drug gave you that relief and you went and had those experiences? You went
Yeah.
from someone who hated themselves to not.
Yeah, I'm very proud of where I am today compared to, say, high school. I was not very proud of who I was, and for no reason. I was still going through a lot, but yeah, I've found myself. I'm definitely who I am now. Camp helps a lot with that. A lot of people who are themselves go to camp, and you just kind of adapt off them. You kind of yeah, you feel free enough to kind of burst the bubble and come out of your shell.
Well, it strikes me that you got to finally feel part of the world.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I've always felt like a year behind everyone, but now I feel like I'm up to date with everyone, my age at least. Like, yeah, it's crazy. I'd never thought I would be able to get to where I am today. Feeling as confident as I am today. Yeah.
That's so cool. It's so good to
Yeah.
see, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you got back, obviously you can't stay at summer camp in
Yeah.
Canada for your whole life. What
Yeah.
have you been doing since then?
I got a job at a shoe shop, and I made tons of friends there. I worked my way up to becoming a manager there, and yeah, and then social side of life, I was going out every weekend, going out with friends, making new friends. My sister started up a thing in Noongar where we go for a dip in the water in the morning and then go and get coffee as well. The friends I've made there, incredible. To be able to do that for someone, I don't know, someone who was introverted, pretty happy I can go out and make new friends that way, doing a cold dip. Might seem stupid to people, but
Oh, makes you feel alive.
yeah, exactly.
You must carry that perspective with you though from everything that you've been through. Do you feel like your capacity for gratitude is maybe
Yeah.
more than others who haven't been through something like
For
that?
sure, yeah. I've definitely got a lot of gratitude. I, as I said before, and like sympathy for people now, I've worked on a lot. 'Cause yeah, it was like, why do I have to go through this when you don't, kind of thing. But yeah.
And you've got a girlfriend?
Yeah, India. Yeah, we met at Freshies, and oh, sorry, the swim thing. We're going very good. I never thought I'd be able to find someone I love. Like, I never thought I'd find someone ever. I thought that people would find me gross and weird.
So what's it been like that's turned out to not be true?
Yeah, it's great. It's another confidence and having someone that cares for you as well. Like, I've had people all around me that care for me, but it's really nice to have someone that close and to be able to tell you stories too as well about growing up. And yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So what do you want your life to be about now that you've got all these options that you thought you weren't going to have?
Yeah, I definitely want to work with kids. I want to work probably in a school, or if some sort of camp opens up in Australia, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I'm hoping to be an ESO next year, working with kids with who are neurodivergent and also kids that have disabilities.
What interests you in doing that?
I find making the relationships with the kids is I don't know, very fulfilling. You feel like you're making a difference. Yeah, there were a few kids over at camp that I looked at them and like, you were just like me a few years ago. Let's try to bring your confidence up and I had one kid who wouldn't stop talking about wanting to go home and playing on his iPad and stuff. And then by the end of it, he said, "Flynn, I want to be just like you when I grow up." And that was definitely the moment I was like, okay, I really like this. Yeah, and yeah, making the relationships with those kids is very fulfilling, and you feel great getting to change them and pushing them in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I think you should go with that. I think you'd be great at that.
Thanks. Yeah.
What have you learned about your mental health? I mean, you've been through so much, but there's a long way to go, and life continues to happen. So what do you feel like some of the lessons you've learned about looking after your inner world that'll stand you in good stead?
Mental health has been a huge struggle for me, and yeah, I say to a lot of people, I'm very proud of where I've ended up here. I feel like I've definitely still got a bit of anxiety, one-on-one things with people. I definitely do have anxiety about that. Having the experience of being that introvert and seeing that depression, I don't want to be back in that spot again. Sometimes I do slip, sometimes I do get bad thoughts and all that, but I kind of stop myself and I go for a drive. I like going for drives and it's like shower thoughts for me. I'll go for a drive and figure things out in my head, stop by the ocean or something and write them down in a journal. I find journaling is so good for getting it, especially if you can't see a therapist.
What sort of things will get to you?
It often is when a lot of things around me are happening, like a lot of everyday things that I'm sure a lot of people experience, and it definitely gets to them. But if I get a little bit sick, I often find that, because I still do have CF, but I often find that we'll get a little bit more sick than say a normal person. They'll often get to me. I'll be like, oh no, I'm going back. I'm going back to when it happened. But I feel like
so that's kind of the trauma aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a reassuring thought for me is if I do go back to, if some reason the drug stops working, or if I do get really sick, do have experience with this in the past, and I can deal with it. I know I'm strong and resilient and confident that I'd be able to deal with it.
But there shouldn't be any reason for that either. So there's lots of reasons to be optimistic, and just how incredible is medical research that
unreal.
That was created in your time, in time for you to go and live the life you want, man.
Literally.
That's just
very.
And all the kids who are getting it now
in the future for sure, and it's only going to get better. I find the amount of support behind CF is overwhelming. My sister, she does a lot of fundraising. the support behind me. I feel very, very supported. My family, we got a massive family on my mum's side and my dad's side. They're all so supportive.
What's
They've
it like
always-
for them to see you like this now after all
Uh,
those years? Because it's traumatic for them as well. And
Oh, for sure. Mum and dad, and well, my whole family, my brother, my sister, they've had to deal with constant hospital visits and
just
seeing,
worrying about you.
yeah, exactly. I get so anxious when I see my brother sick. Like, I can't even imagine how they would feel. Yeah, I know mum and dad were definitely my rocks growing up. They supported me through it all. I remember them talking about a conversation they had with the doctor, and the doctor was like, "You two have to be solid during this. This is not going to be an easy journey." And they have been. They've been so solid. Mum and dad have gone through the same thing I have. I find they've definitely been through it.
What do they say about the Flynn that you are now?
I think they're proud. I hope they're proud. I remember when I was in Canada, I was like, listen, I know I said 2 weeks, but can you give me another couple of months? And they're like, yeah, 100%, 100%. We see how happy you are, how healthy you are. We want you to keep going. If you want to stay a year, stay a year. And yeah, just the support just feels so good.
Because you all must have had times there of feeling hopeless or like it was overwhelming and
Yeah.
there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I think your story is very encouraging to families going through this of that their kid can grow up and can turn out like you and be happy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it comes, the support of family is a massive reason why I got through. Constant support is just so, it's so needed, for families that have to go through something like this.
You got anything in particular you want to make sure you say before we wrap this up?
Not really, no. Not like I
No
think
like particular pearls of wisdom or anything.
I don't take life heaps seriously anymore. I find seeing life as, I don't know, I used to worry a lot about death. So seeing life as death might come, it might not, like, I don't know.
Well, it will eventually.
It will, yeah. But knowing that is, I don't know, I just like to joke around a lot. I like to try and stay positive as best as I can. My granddad he's like my role model, and he's always been the most positive person I've ever met. And he's what, 80, and he's still like a 20-year-old guy. Just just try to stay as positive as he can. As easy as that is to say, but yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Well, as someone who met you 5 years ago and first got to talk to you, like I said, when you walked in, it was a bit of a trip because now you're a young man with a beard, and of course, because you're 22 now and you're 17 when we first met, but physically and then obviously in telling your story, like you've come such an incredibly long way, and it's really great to see someone who was in such a tough position, like you were really, really struggling then, and CF's a terribly difficult condition to deal with, to end up in the position you're in now, full of life and loving it. So often, tragically, these stories don't go that way for all manner of conditions, for young people in particular affected by them. So we don't always get to see what can happen on the other side. So
exactly.
it's so good to see you be an example of that. And just get out there and keep on living, man.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode. If you like what we're all about, support us by following Youngblood Men's Mental Health on Instagram and Youngblood Mental Health on TikTok. Every podcast episode is recorded in professional quality video, and they're all up on our Youngblood Men's Mental Health YouTube channel. So please show some love and subscribe. You can find everything there is to know about the podcast at youngbloodmensmentalhealth.com. And most importantly, please share these stories with anyone in your life who needs to know they're not alone. We're all in this together. Catch you next time.